Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks, and a friend of mine is going to redesign a Ferris wheel type deal, and pretty neat. And he was asking me some questions about the motor I used and uh, on my Ferris wheel and merry-go-round, and it would be way overkill for what he's making. And I made mine with actually sprockets and gears, and and made a wooden chain. And it's a little bit difficult. It's fun to make, but it'd be a lot easier to make just a pulley. The pulley would have a lot of advantages. One, it'll, uh, and if I was going to make this, I would use an O-ring. You can go to Lowe's, or I know Lowe's for sure, maybe Home Depot. They sell assorted packages of O-rings of different sizes, and then you could probably find them off the internet anyway. But I've done this exact same thing when I made my merry-go-round. I sandwiched this O-ring to give me some traction on my offset for my wheel. And this is what I'm going to explain what I did with these dowels. These dowels add a little bit of strength, but they're really for indexing. And you can actually see I cut a square hole so I knew what is top and what is bottom when I added this. And this would be a fun project for anything if you're going to add a little motor to it, be an electric motor or a battery motor or even just a hand crank. So I thought I would show you what I would suggest to do. There's probably more than one way to do this, but figure out what size pulley you want, and we're just going to make a pulley. I'm going to hit P and put it in the center of the page. And now I'm going to need a duplicate of that pulley, and I'm going to go Control D. And I tell you what, before we do that, we'll erase that one. We're going to make this an even 5 inches, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So we've got a 5-inch pulley. Now we're going to Control D, and we're going to make this other pulley 4.75. And you would have to do some testing on this to get the exact same dimensions. Now, so I've got a smaller piece and a larger piece. We need 2 of these. So what you're going to do, you're going to sandwich the smaller pulley or the smaller wood in between these other 2 pieces, and your O-ring is going to set in there. Now, I keep saying O-ring because I'm going to use it for a belt. So the belt would have a groove so it wouldn't fall off. So if you had a centerpiece and 2 larger pieces, but you need to, when you glue these together, you need some way to glue them together perfectly round. And that's mainly what the video is about tonight. And I would suggest using plywood, 1/8-inch plywood, because 1/8 inch or any plywood is stronger than normal wood because the glues and the grains will run in different directions. And then on a scrap piece of plywood, you need to buy some like 1/4-inch dowels, and we're going to draw a 0.24-inch hole, which would be just smaller than the 1/4-inch dowel. And then you need to cut that out on a test, and then run your dowel down in that hole. And if it's way too tight, then you need to make it a little bit bigger. And if it's too loose, you need to make it a hair smaller. But that way you get a good tight fit, and then when you glue them together, it'll be perfect. So I'm going to hit P in the keyboard and put it in the center of the page. And this is probably what's important now. So my inner pulley is 4.75. So we're going to move this, we're going to make a duplicate, and we're going to move it up 2 inches. We'll set our nudge factor on 2, grab just that one, and that looks pretty good. We're going to take this and make a duplicate, and we're going to make it 2 inches. Now, this is going to be the inside of your hole that you're going to test on your motor or your shaft that's going to turn. Doesn't matter what size it is, but we're going to make it, for right this minute, we're going to make it a 1/2 inch. So there's the center of our pulley. So here's what we need to do. This hole needs to be the same on all, and these holes need to be the same in all. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our smaller pulley, and we're going to set our nudge factor on 6 inches. Okay? We're going to take our larger pulley and move it over 6 inches. Or I guess we're going to take our smaller pulley and move it over 6 inches. Then we're going to select, lasso all three of those. We're making a duplicate, Control D, and we're going to move them over the 6 inches. Now, if you group these together, Control G, and move these, or select those and go Control G to group, then you would actually make a duplicate of that. So here's your two outer circles, and here's your inner circle. And what the indexing dials have done, and this was pretty easy, when I move this back over the center, my center holes are exactly where they should be. So that's the easy way to make those holes. You only need two. And because this is perfectly symmetrical, you could glue it from either side. I mean, each side is going to be the same. So you don't need on the one you saw earlier, I put an indexing mark, I'm going to call it, and I moved it over 2 inches. And now this way I know that these are all on the left-hand side and they need to stay on the side, but you don't really need that. Anyway, and then you just go to Home Depot and Lowe's and buy your O-rings and do some testing whether it fits in that groove. If you buy a thicker O-ring, you might need to put 2 inner pieces to have a better groove. And then, just, common sense stuff. If you want the thing to turn around as fast as the motor's going, you make both your pulleys equal. If you want this one to turn, if this is your motor and you want this one to turn faster, you make your second one a little bit smaller, just like the old school on your bicycle. Anyway, I hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.